everybody. How are we doing? I just wanted to hop on to say hi, but I'm going to give it a few minutes for everyone to join the cooking demo. We have an amazing spread here, and this recipe is really simple, so I'm excited to share it with you. Let's see. In the comments, please let me know if you can hear me okay. I have my microphone here, but I just want to make sure that you're picking up the sound. All right, so my pan is starting to heat up, so I want to jump right into this demo. Thank you so much to everyone who is tuning in to Afro-Vegan Society's World Food Day celebration, Plant-Based Power to the People. This is a really exciting event that we get to bring to you virtually this year, just highlighting issues in food access, but also plant-based nutrition and how it's beneficial for everyone, especially folks in marginalized communities. So today I'm going to be sharing a recipe for my Caribbean style brown stew mushrooms. And this recipe is really nostalgic for me. And it's something that I've adapted over time. I was first introduced to Jamaican food as a grad student in DC, and I did not have much money at all. And so I started visiting the Caribbean shop near my campus and eating whatever the budget deal was for the day. And this was definitely my favorite. Now, originally it was made with chicken, but once I became a vegan, I wanted to explore ways to incorporate the flavors that I know and love into plants so that they're more nourishing and they're causing less harm to our environment, to animals, and to those around us, to our health. So I wanted to go ahead and highlight mushrooms in this preparation. Now, there are so many options you can use for vegan chicken alternatives. You can use vegan chicken strips from different brands. You can also use, various legumes and beans or chickpeas or cauliflower. Any of those things would be really delicious. But I wanted to use mushrooms because they're super easy to find in the store. So I found this at my local grocery. This was not a specialty grocery store. I am using sliced cremini mushrooms. They're also called like baby portobellas, but you could use white button mushrooms. You could use oyster mushrooms. You could use portobello mushrooms. But you could even use something like canned mushrooms that come in a can and you would just drain off the liquid and then saute them. Because really, when you're cooking mushrooms, part of what transforms the texture and the flavor of it is the cooking process where you draw out the water and cook off the water. And then this meaty plant based texture is left behind. So I wanted to highlight mushrooms in this dish because I think they really complement the flavors in this dish, but also because they're a super affordable and easy to find option in most grocery stores. So here I have 1 pound of sliced cremini mushrooms or baby portobello mushrooms, brown mushrooms, whatever you call them. I have a pound here. And I'm going to take you through the rest of the ingredients that we're going to be using in this dish. So I also have 2 small bell peppers, thinly sliced. Now you could use, you could use large bell pepper. You can use any colors you want, but I had red, and so that's what I used. I also have half of a large carrot, thinly sliced. I have half of a large white onion, thinly sliced. And my pan is getting really hot. So what I'm going to do before I take you through the rest of the ingredients is put in about a tablespoon of oil. I like to use grapeseed oil because it has a high smoke point. It's better than using virgin oils because they can become rancid when you cook them on high heat. So I'm going to add our mushrooms in, and they're starting to sizzle right away. And I just want to cook these on high because I really want to draw out the moisture in them and start to transform the texture. So I'm using an extra large skillet, and you can see that, the mushrooms are coming up off the sides, building up on the sides of the pan. But so much water is going to cook out of these during the cooking process that, there'll be more than enough space once we move through it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is add a pinch of salt just to help the water be drawn out of the mushrooms. This will accelerate the cooking process a little bit. And we're just going to let that go. So now that our mushrooms are cooking, I'm going to take you through the rest of the seasonings and spices that we're going to be using in this dish. So I have here 1 teaspoon of dried oregano and 2 teaspoons of dried thyme. Now in Caribbean cooking, you're going to find them using a lot of thyme. And another spice that you'll see used really, really often in Caribbean cooking is allspice. So I have about 7 or 8 allspice berries here, whole allspice. They use them in rice and peas and things like that. And it offers like a bit of a smoky sweetness to things. Like it doesn't actually have any sugar content, but it just balances out all the herbs and bright, fresh fruits and vegetables with this nice, rich herb right here. So I also have 2 teaspoons of paprika. I have 2 to 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. You could use agave nectar or maple syrup also. I have 2 to 3 tablespoons of liquid aminos. Now you could also use coconut aminos or tamari sauce or soy sauce, but I'm using liquid aminos today. And this is really going to develop the savory flavors in the dish and, bring out all of that hearty, meaty flavor in our plant. Next up, I am using 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke. Now, typically in this recipe, I like to use smoked paprika, but I wasn't able to find it. So I am going with 2 teaspoons of paprika and 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke. And it gives that charred grilled outside flavor. I also have 3 large scallions that have been thinly sliced. I have 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now, I've seen this dish prepared a lot of ways. You can use fresh tomatoes. You can use ketchup even. I'm using tomato paste because, once again, this is a very affordable option. It's shelf stable. 1 little can of tomato paste goes a long way depending on what you're making. So this is a great swap. A tiny can of tomato paste, you can make a huge pot of pasta with. And I'm only using 2 tablespoons of it. And it's only usually between 50 to 79 cents for that can of tomato paste. So a little bit goes a long way and it's super affordable. And then finally, I have here some vegetable and herb seasoning. So preferably, I would like to use something like vegetable broth, but I don't have it. And so I'm using this vegetable and herb seasoning mix from a brand called Aya Foods. And Aya Foods is a Black-owned brand, and they make grain-free flours, lots of seasoning mixes for things like jollof rice. They even have powdered hibiscus, so you can make beverages, but they're very culturally centered products that you can use in your everyday cooking. So I'm going to be using this to just boost up a little extra flavor in our dish as well. And all I need is a little bit of water, so I'm going to grab that right now. Okay, so our mushrooms have quieted down quite a bit, and I just want to check the heat setting. I'm going to turn them all the way up to high because this dish should come together really quickly. We don't want to spend all day cooking standing in front of the stove, right? Especially if you're having a late night like this and you're just getting started on dinner at like 8 p.m. You don't want to spend all day in front of the stove. You want to get your food quickly, but it's going really nicely. Lots of moisture has been released already, and that's exactly what we want to see. So as I am letting these mushrooms cook, I want to tell you about a few of the ways that we're going to be serving up these brown stew Caribbean style mushrooms. So for me, no Caribbean Jamaican plate is complete without rice and peas. So rice and peas are cooked in water and coconut milk, and then they have onion and thyme and allspice in them. And then usually they're prepared with pigeon peas. So we would think of it as a bean, but they're referred to as pigeon peas or red beans. So I have cooked up a nice pot of rice and peas, and I will be sharing the recipe for this on the Afro-Vegan Society website very soon. I also lightly fried up some sweet plantains. So that's also a classic accompaniment whenever you're having Caribbean food usually. And then I just have a simple garden salad. So we're getting lots of plants, lots of nutrients from all types of things. This is a very wholesome and nutritious meal. Rice and beans, very inexpensive. Carrots, cucumbers, lettuce, these are very inexpensive vegetables. And even the plantains are not that expensive. So this is a very affordable dish, and I'm going to serve it up in a bowl. But then I'm also going to show you how to make some delicious lettuce wraps and tacos using these various ingredients. So we're going to bring this together quite a few days. So if you make a big batch of these mushrooms, you don't have to get bored eating the same thing every day. You can transform it however you like and enjoy it a multitude of ways. So I'm going to let these continue to cook. We're getting to that phase where lots and lots of water is coming off the mushrooms, and that is exactly what we want to keep happening. But my goal with this is to actually cook these mushrooms down until pretty much all the water has evaporated. That's why I'm cooking on high. And then once that happens, we're going to saute up the rest of our veggies, put in our spices and seasonings, and we'll create a thick, rich sauce. That is our brown stew sauce or our fricassee sauce. And then we'll cook the mushrooms back in it, and it's going to come together in a very beautiful harmony of flavors and textures. I don't know if you can see, but already these mushrooms have come down so much. They started off coming up the walls of the pan, and now they can easily fit into the base of the pan without crowding. So they really do cook down quite a bit. I have to be honest and say though that when I first went vegan or before I went vegan, I was not a fan of mushrooms at all. I didn't like the texture. I didn't really like the flavor. I was the person that would pull mushrooms out of a dish. But it just really took me some time to experiment with the foods and try to make them in new ways to really give them a chance again. Because, it's so easy to have misconceptions about the things that we don't like or the things that we're not willing to try, but it's usually just your experience with it. And if you can create a new positive experience with it, then it'll open you up to being creative and, experiencing the benefits of eating different kinds of foods. And for me, that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned since, transitioning to plant-based eating and adopting a vegan lifestyle is to revisit some of the things that I had said I did not like or I was never going to do and be open to them. Approach them from a new direction and see, does my opinion change? Now, my opinion doesn't change about everything, but there are a lot of things that I had written off or said, oh, I'm not that type of person, or I don't like that, that I'm actually like, oh, actually, I like it a lot. And, part of that is like maturing and aging. Your tastes and your preferences change over time. So it can't hurt to continue to revisit things, especially if they're not doing you any harm or you're not doing it just to like fit in or anything like that. But if you genuinely are interested in not missing out on certain things in life or shutting yourself down to certain experiences, it's always great to revisit things and try them in a new way. All right. So we've been cooking these mushrooms just about since this live started. So close to 10 minutes now. And they're pretty close to being ready to come out of the pan. So I think I'm actually going to pull them now. All right. And I'm just going to slide them back in the bowl that they were in when I first poured them in. Okay. So we're going to let this pan heat up a little bit more again. And sizzling is always a good sign. One of the nice things also about cooking with plant-based foods is that they have such a high water content that even when you're cooking on high heat, it's not going to burn as quickly as you might be used to with other types of foods. So, I mean, obviously you want to pay attention to your pot. You don't want to be careless with the heat when you're cooking, but they can withstand more heat over time because they have so much more liquid to release. And so, it speeds up the pace of cooking a lot more. I think that's something I really found that it's like, oh, I can cook on high. As long as I pay attention, there's so much water within these fruits and vegetables that, I don't really have to worry about things burning as much. So I'm going to add in another tablespoon of our oil. And I'm going to start off by adding our spices into the pan. We want to bloom our spices in hot oil. And this is going to go quickly because we don't want them to burn, because unlike the vegetables, they don't really have a high water content. So we're going to start off with our thyme and oregano. Get that in. Our paprika, our allspice, and we're going to add our scallions. Well, no, we're going to add half of our scallions now. Just half. And we're going to add in our liquid aminos, our liquid smoke, and our brown sugar. We're going to stir this super quickly. Like I said, we do not want this to sit and burn. All right. And that has bloomed really nicely, very quickly. So now we're going to add in our onions and our carrots and our bell peppers. And now really what we want to do is just saute this on high very briefly so that, our veggies begin to soften. We don't want them to be soggy or limp, but we do want to just break them down with the heat a bit and help these flavors from the liquid aminos and the liquid smoke, the paprika, the thyme, the oregano, and the brown sugar to penetrate inside of the vegetables. So I'm just using my spatula to break up my onion. And even though these vegetables have been room temperature, they cooled that pan right down. So I have a bit of water here. And I am going to add just a little bit in. Actually, let me do a taste test really quickly, just to see how we're going here. But this is a beautiful, colorful dish of veggies already. And eating colorful foods is a great way not only to get more enjoyment out of what you're eating, but also to ensure that you're having really nutritious meals that are going to benefit your health. So eat as much color as you can, as often as you can, in as many meals as you can. A wide variety of colors is a good indication of a healthy and balanced diet. So toss that around very nicely. And that is delicious. I'm going to add just a little bit of water. I would say that's between a half cup and 2/3 cup of water. This is obviously something that you want to play by ear as you go, but I really just want this to come up to kind of a simmer. And I'm going to go ahead and add in our vegetable and herb seasoning as well. But yeah, there's so much savoriness and a hint of sweetness, smokiness. You're getting a wide variety of a balance of flavors. And so this is food that you're going to enjoy eating all the time. And I find that when you cook flavorful food, you don't really think about what's missing from your plate. And neither do the skeptics in your life either. I've had people who are in my family or friends who are not plant-based eaters. They are not vegan. And, when they hear about what's in the dish, they might maybe turn their noses up or be a little bit skeptical. But once they taste how flavorful it is, they taste all the amazing textures, it's more so about how good so much you've packed into one dish, and you're not thinking about what's missing anymore. So I always, try to be optimistic in thinking that way and try to, use every ingredient to its fullest capability. And in that way, you have more enjoyable meals for yourself and with others. All right, so I'm going to add in this tomato paste now too. So this is really thick. So what I'm going to do is just mash it down into the water to thin it out. And because it's so thick, it's also going to help to thicken our sauce, which we want. Okay. Just going to break this down. And I also hear the beginning of a simmer starting, which is just what we want to hear right now. That means everything's starting to come up to temperature. And all of our flavors are going to marry together beautifully. Okay. All right. So our sauce has started to thicken. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's not as runny as it was. It's starting to thicken. And that's exactly what we want to see. We're just going to get everything evenly coated in here. Okay. Now, I think that this is also a dish. You might not necessarily get all the same textures, but if you're the type of person who likes to do like a one pot meal and you just want to throw everything at once and let it simmer, that could work. You know, if you're someone who likes to work with a crock pot or an Instapot, the flavors are going to be there. The textures might be a little bit different, but you're still going to get a really delicious, savory stewed dish if you cook that way as well. So there are lots of options with preparation as well. This is just one way. But I just want to introduce you to some ideas, some flavor combinations, maybe some ingredient combinations that will spark your creativity so that you feel inspired to try new things in the kitchen, maybe with the same ingredients that you've had for a while. Like we oftentimes have bell pepper, onion, and carrots in our fridge, mushrooms. You know, these are common ingredients that we tend to have in our refrigerator, but this may not necessarily be a typical way that you prepare them. So I just want to give you some new inspo when it comes to putting together some new meals. All right, this sauce is literally looking perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and add our mushrooms back in right now. And we just want to let everything once again continue to get coated and bring this up to a simmer. So really the goal here is to just let this come up to a simmer, get everything nice and coated, let the flavors marry together really well. And then once that's done, it's going to be time to assemble our three different dishes using these Caribbean brown soup mushrooms. So super easy. And I'm really excited to eat this after this demo. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of our scallions, or maybe most of the scallions at this point. I'm going to save a few for garnish. Okay, so we've got our scallions, we've got our mushrooms, everything has been coated in the sauce. So we just want to allow this to come up to a simmer and allow a little bit more of this liquid to evaporate so that the sauce thickens a little bit more. We want our tomatoes to soften a bit more, our carrots to soften just a bit more. So I would say, honestly, we are maybe like 5 minutes away from this dish being finished. Now, I'm cooking on an electric heating eye right now. Typically, I'll be cooking on my gas stove, and this recipe would honestly go like twice as fast. So just keep that in mind too, that when you're cooking on a stove top, especially if you have a gas range, it's going to go that much faster. Okay. All right. This is beautiful. Okay, I'm going to do something a little dangerous because I really want to show you what this looks like. Let's see. All right. So here are our mushrooms. Can you see? Our mushrooms, our carrots, our onions, our bell pepper, our delicious brown stew or fricassee sauce with all those delicious herbs and spices. So I'm going to let that continue to cook. I'm going to make a little bit of space and then we can start prepping our different dish serving styles. So move this stuff out of the way. Oh, I also had garlic and onion powder here. So let me sprinkle this in. It's never too late to add things into your dish. I'm just using about 1 to 2 teaspoons of each in here. We have fresh onion and scallions, but you know, I'm a person who likes their onions. So obviously adjust to your preference. Like I said, I will be emailing out this written recipe and it's just a guideline. So try it for yourself. If you're very comfortable with cooking, you can make adjustments off the bat. If you're new to cooking, you can maybe try it my way and then make your own adjustments as you go. That is the beautiful thing about everything is it's all flexible. So and that just took over the top. It smells so good in here. I wish you all could smell this, but if you make it at home, you'll smell it for yourself and then you'll trust me maybe. I make so many recipes for Afro-Vegan-Society.com on our recipes page and have a lot of new recipes in the works for holiday season and just the end of the year, warm, comforting, flavorful dishes, you know, to maybe keep you a little happy when things start to get colder and darker. So please check out the website and we will be sharing so much goodness and more cooking demos with you throughout the end of the year and beyond. Okay. All right. This is lovely. Okay. Whoa. Yeah, that's really good. You always want to be tasting as you cook. You can always add a little bit more seasoning as you go, but it's really hard to take it away. So definitely pace yourself when you're seasoning, especially if you're new to this. Um, and I think that tasting and trusting your test buds is a big part of building confidence in the kitchen and building the confidence with cooking. So taste as you go. You'll learn what you like. You develop your style that way. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe this up a bit. Let's see. All right, so let's move this to the side. Okay. And we're going to bring over our plates. So we have our tortillas. There we go. We have our tortillas for our tacos. We have our bowl for our platter, and we have our romaine leaves for our lettuce wraps. So let's start building our dishes. So I'm going to start off with our rice and peas. So it turned out so good. Um, These turned out really, really good. The easiest way to do this is it's super intuitive. But you don't want to overcook your rice and you don't want to put too much water in. So you just have to be patient and it's pretty much going to come out right for you every time. But like I said, the written recipe for this will go out ASAP. But if you love rice and peas, I think you're going to like this version. It's really, really simple, really easy. Rice is also something that I really wasn't all that good at making before I went vegan. I think part of it was just I was impatient. I'd be watching the pots. And I would never try something twice the same way because it never worked well for me. So I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. But I definitely have mastered rice, I think, since going vegan. But a rice cooker always helps too. So if you have a rice cooker or Instapot, this is like a no-brainer. So we have a lovely mound of our coconut rice and peas with thyme and allspice, some onion, a little bit of sea salt, and it's delicious. So we got our base of our bowl done, and we have also got our lettuce cups here. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of rice and peas on the base of this as well. And the nice thing about eating something like lettuce wraps is that, you can eat a lot of them because, well, honestly, you really practically can't fit that much in them without them falling apart. So, if you're a person who likes to eat large portions, incorporating more vegetables into your meals is a great way for you to really enjoy large portions of the food you enjoy because they have a lower calorie density. And so, you can eat more of them, enjoy more of them if you like to eat high volume. I personally do tend to like to eat higher volume meals. And so I eat lots and lots of salads or lettuce bowls or things like that because I find it's a way that I feel like I'm not missing out in terms of quantity of eating. But once again, everything is still in balance because I'm eating so many low calorie, high nutrient ingredients in what I'm eating. So we're not going to put any rice and peas on our tacos. If I was doing a burrito, I would definitely do it. But these are corn tortillas and, we don't want to overload it with the grains. So we've got the rice and peas down. Next up, we're going to do our salad. So the salad is super simple. Whenever I get, carry out from the Jamaican restaurant, that's how I was introduced to Jamaican food. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the demo, was going to the carry out on my campus. So they always gave you like a really simple green salad on the side with cucumber and tomato and carrot. Usually they also did like sauteed cabbage. Like usually, especially too, when you go to the Jamaican restaurant and you get an order of rice and peas, it'll usually come with cabbage. So I was thinking about sauteing the cabbage, but I just thought, let me incorporate it into our salad. So we get a lot of amazing fiber and crunchiness to balance out, the soft, tender rice and the saucy, meaty, fricassee brown stew mushrooms. So let's get a nice variety of veggies. It also just bumps up the color in our dish. So we're getting color, lots of vibrant color from two components of our dish. Now for the tacos, I'm going to add a bit of this salad too. I'm really going to focus on trying to get some of the cabbage and lettuce. just to provide a base for everything, right? So put that at the base on both sides. And it just smells so fresh. Okay, so we have the base of our tacos done now. So we're gonna set this. Oh, actually, let me put a couple like carrots and tomatoes in our lettuce wrap because there's already lettuce on the outside, so we don't really need the lettuce inside the lettuce wrap. But let me add a couple carrots and tomatoes here, just to make it pretty, add some nice texture. And okay, so we got that. Now, this has been sizzling away while I've been preparing this, and this is ready to serve. So let me grab my spoon, grab another spoon, and we're going to serve up these brown stew mushrooms. So once again, here is a close-up of our brown stew mushrooms. They're savory, they're smoky, they're hearty, they're so delicious. And they are going to go perfectly in our bowl, on our wraps, and in our tacos. So looking and smelling amazing. So let's do our bowl first. Okay. Okay. So we have our brown stew mushroom bowl right here. Next, we're going to top off our lettuce cups. So once again, you don't want to overfill these by any means because they're delicate. So we're just going to get a nice little spread of all this in each lettuce cup. Try to get a mushroom in every bite. And then just a little bit more of that sauce. And if you cook it for a while and you notice that the sauce is really thickening and evaporating, you can always add a little bit more water or vegetable broth just to thin it out so you can spread that out. Because it's really nice to have it like spooned over your rice too. Okay, so got our layer down for our lettuce boats. And then it's time for our tacos. So it's a nice scoop. And this is nice because there's a lot of cabbage on these tacos. So the heat from the mushrooms and the sauce will kind of, gently start to break it down too. So it's not so tough when you're biting into it. Makes it that much more enjoyable when you eat it. Let me get a little bell pepper in this one. I want to get those vibrant colors and those great textures from all the different ingredients in every bite of what we're getting. Get a carrot on here too. Okay. And let me go ahead and turn the heat off of this. And then finally, we're going to top it off with our plantains. So my plantains are a little well done. I was multitasking, but they're still delicious. And I like, when they're crispy on the edges, tender in the middle. Usually when people eat plantains, when I get fried plantains from the restaurant, they're usually dark all over because they're typically deep fried. So I don't really like to deep fry. So I really only cook these in about 2 tablespoons of oil. That's usually my limit that I like to put whenever I'm cooking something, just because I don't want it to be too greasy. But you could also roast them, and that's usually how I get the best results, when I coat them in like 1 tablespoon oil and then roast them in the oven at 425 degrees. And then they get a really nice brown cover all over, but they're really soft and tender in the middle as well. So got our lovely plantains here. Get some smaller pieces for the boats. 3. Try to get 3 on each boat. And then let's go for some bigger plantains in our tacos. All right. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, perfect. So here we have 3 different dishes, and what I'm going to do is come up close to the camera and show you the final look for each. But this is how you make some delicious Caribbean style brown stew mushrooms. They're also known as fricassee mushrooms. And like I said, This flavor base can be used on any vegetable or vegan protein that you like. Vegan chicken strips, or vegan chicken breast, like Beyond Meat or Gardein. But you can also use any kind of mushroom you like. Oyster mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, whatever you like would really be delicious in this. And then you can also use legumes like lentils and chickpeas and all those delicious ingredients as well. So it's super, super versatile and it's so fulfilling and tasty. So enough talk, let me show you up close. And then we're going to close this demo out. All right, so here are, let's see, here we go. Our brown stew mushroom bowl with our garden salad and our delicious coconut, rice, and peas. So good. Here we go. Next up, we have our tacos. And these will also be really delicious if you took some vegan mayo and some lime juice and maybe a little bit of coconut milk and made like a coconut lime cream sauce. That would be super delicious on this. Here we go. And then last but definitely not least, we have our beautiful, vibrant fricassee or brown stew mushroom lettuce boats with plantain and rice and peas. So delicious. So I thank you all for tuning into this cooking demo. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I thank you for participating in Plant Power to the People, Afro-Vegan Society's 75th anniversary of World Food Day celebration. We've had so many amazing panels, and the other cooking demo that was presented by Dr. Tiana Jenkins was awesome. Her sausage and okra looks so good. So if you have not watched that cooking demo, definitely check it out. Super delicious and flavorful. Just showing people how important it is that people have access to plant foods, what a huge positive impact they can make on people's lives when they do have access to healthy, nourishing plant foods, and then showing you some delicious ways to prepare affordable and flavorful and culturally diverse plant-based dishes. So once again, I'm Jessica from Afro-Vegan Society. Please like this video, comment if you're going to try this recipe out for yourself. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because, like I said earlier, I'm going to be doing a lot more cooking demos moving into the end of the year. And just support our work. We appreciate all the support we can get because, this mission is really important. So thank you for your support and for tuning in today. And I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.